Our best friend, our little brother, a son, and now an angel, all in one person. The fact that we'll never be able to lay eyes on him ever again will never fully sink in.
And now, Dolars Aleksanders, you will be found as sure as night follows day. Because don't think for a moment that West Midlands Police are going to forget about this case and put the file away to gather dust. You will remain wanted for as long as it takes.
What iPhone is this?
It's yours.
What iPhone though?
On the 14th of June this year, which was a quiet Thursday afternoon, 12-year-old Keaton Slater was walking down Radford Road at about 4:30 p.m. He had no idea his life was about to be cut short. In a matter of moments, a black BMW came tearing down that road, striking Keaton in a devastating hit and run. No one has been charged. No one has been held accountable. And now, 3 months later, the Slater family is still searching for justice. The main suspect? Dolars Aleksanders, a man wanted on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving. But despite an intensive nationwide manhunt, he remains on the run. Join me, Peter Bleksley, as I explore the evidence, the information and the failures that have left this heartbreaking case unresolved. Let's get into it.
We were a family of 5, but now we are 4. Our lives will never be the same again. And Keaton's brother's dad, Nana and Grandad, and myself are devastated.
At 4:30 p.m. on that fateful afternoon, Keaton was making his way home from school, walking along Radford Road. A black BMW was captured on CCTV travelling down that road, and you can see from this clip that it does appear to be travelling rather fast. After Keaton had been hit, paramedics were called and they did all they could to save his young, tender life. But tragically, he was declared dead at the scene. Soon after this accident, the BMW was found nearby and a number of arrests were made. One of those people was a 21-year-old man, and I'm working on the theory that that was indeed Dolars Aleksanders. Aleksanders was originally from Latvia, although at the time he was a UK resident. The Slater family are convinced that Aleksanders has fled back to Latvia, and they are calling on the government to take action in an effort to try and find him. I'm sure that West Midlands Police are liaising with colleagues in Interpol, Europol possibly, and maybe the National Crime Agency, because in the 21st century, law enforcement is very much used to criminals crossing borders, boundaries, and travelling around the world. Whilst Dolars Aleksanders has not been charged or stood trial for this crime, it is one that he is very much wanted for, and he features on the Crime Stoppers wanted list. Only yesterday there was a £10,000 reward on offer, but that has expired. I'm convinced that West Midlands Police will be making inquiries far further afield in an effort to try and find Aleksanders. The world has been shrunk in the 21st century through the internet and through air travel, and it's a very different landscape to when I was in policing. There was a case from not so many years ago, which was equally as tragic, when a young man called Harry Dunn was killed when riding his motorcycle. That case garnered huge publicity because the person who was driving the vehicle that collided with Harry on his motorbike and was later found guilty of careless driving was an American national. And in that case, the Dunn family campaigned brilliantly and at governmental level to bring pressure to do something. And it was that kind of government pressure that eventually led to somebody from America entering a guilty plea. For any fugitive to be successfully on the run, people have to be helping them. Somebody has got to put a roof over their head, feed them, clothe them, and supply them with cash or some kind of access to money. It is virtually impossible to go on the run and stay on the run on your own. The more people that are helping Dolars Aleksanders, then the higher the possibility of somebody getting to hear about it and therefore being in a position to make that phone call to law enforcement so that they can slap the handcuffs on. He will not be on his own. He will be being helped. And, of course, some of those people might indeed be committing criminal offences themselves if they're assisting an offender or harbouring a fugitive, for example. We know a 21-year-old man was arrested soon after Keaton was killed and that man was bailed, released on bail. And I strongly suspect that was Dolars Aleksanders. The decision to bail him might look like a rather large mistake now, because back in the day, we would often charge people with lesser offences, if we had evidence, of course, and we'd use that as a way of keeping them in custody whilst we gathered evidence for perhaps a more important, a more serious crime. If you think about the man who recently was arrested for apparently plotting to assassinate Donald Trump, he wasn't charged with anything in relation to the assassination attempt yet, but was charged with two somewhat lesser firearms offences, because that was the way they could keep him in custody whilst they investigated the more serious allegation. Young Keaton was a very keen Coventry City fan, and the club has been extremely helpful in expressing its sympathy and doing whatever they can for the Slater family, who, of course, are going through a hellish nightmare. The impact of Keaton's death was felt very much at the school that he attended to and the wider community. There's been huge outpourings of grief and empathy for the family, and everybody that has spoken about him has said what an adorable, fun-loving young kid he was. His death was a tragedy, and the impact has been enormous on so many people. I think with this case, what is really needed is that one person who knows where Dolars Aleksanders is to pick up the phone and make that call. That is often how fugitives are caught.
I'd just like to offer my sincere thanks to the community, to all of those who have come forward and helped us so far. And I'd like to ask and plead that continues. Without the community support, we wouldn't be able to achieve what we achieve. And I'd like to, again, offer my sincere condolences to the family, to all of the persons that are connected to the poor boy who's lost his life. I'd like to appeal specifically to anybody that recognises this individual to contact us immediately, phone 999. We'll do everything we can to get resources to you immediately and to apprehend and arrest this individual.
I now think that all of us have a responsibility to publicise this case or to talk about it or to highlight it wherever we can. If your friends and family haven't heard of the tragic death of Keaton Slater, then tell them about it and make sure they are familiar with the name and the photograph of Dolars Aleksanders. The main thing, the main thrust of all this investigation, the campaigning that the Slater family are doing, and the reason that I'm sitting here talking to you now is to build pressure. Get Aleksanders arrested. Get Aleksanders back into the UK so that the wheels of justice can start to turn. He must be found. He must be charged, and he must stand in a court and answer the allegations against him. It is vitally important that justice is done.